vicinity. Before we start, everyone put their mobile phones on silent. I don't know interruptions, please. We've got plenty of leaflets over there, plenty of Britain First handbooks, and we've also got, there's a few copies of my book there, The Battle for Britain. There's also a copy of Tim Burton's new book, Pigeon on the Wing. That was his prison nickname, Pigeon, and he was on the prison wing. I just discovered what that means. Mystifying title. But no, Tim is a staunch patriot, has been for years and years and years. He stood in elections. He's been to prison for the cause, for the movement. So his book is quite captivating. It's a real good read. So they're a tenner each if you want to grab one. All right.
Good read.
Special price today.
Good read. Very funny as well.
So this is our first meeting of the new year, and before this we held a leadership monthly management meeting, and we have got so many activities going to be unleashed literally as soon as we leave this place. We've got some, as well as what we call soft campaigning, which is days of action in city centres with our own stage, making speeches and giving out thousands of leaflets. As well as that, we've got electioneering. We've also got a lot of direct action going on. You know, there's halal abattoirs up and down the country we're going to be storming and exposing. There's MPs' offices who have irritated us. You know, people like Diane Abbott maybe, or David Lammy. I can tell you now, this year is going to be the year of Britain First, and it's going to be a roller coaster ride all the way there. But just to get this meeting underway, I want to introduce veteran nationalist and patriot and election candidate and author and video superstar, Paul Rimmer, who you know has been involved in the cause for decades. And he's been arrested many times himself, you know, he's a veteran. So all put your hands together for Paul Rimmer.
Wow. Yeah, it's been a few years, but we're in a bigger emergency now than we've ever been. I mean, I'm going to look back on 2019 very briefly because it's been a great year for us in so many ways. First of all, Paul has kept out of prison to the whole of 2019, am I right?
Skin of my teeth.
I've kept out of prison. Andy?
Yes.
So it's a year of liberty, you know. We had the trial in Belfast in April. There was 4 of us there, 3 of us were found not guilty. That was a 20-month ordeal, that trial, over speeches, you know. They tied us up in the trial. So that was the first great victory of 2019. But then we had a Prime Minister, Theresa May, who didn't like us, especially after Trump retweeted, and she targeted Britain First and sought to destroy it at every turn. And she made hell, didn't she? She made your life hell in many ways because she had the power to do so. But in July, she went. We finally got rid of Theresa May. That's worth it, cheer that. Was she an old Prime Minister? Not only did she try and deceive us on Brexit, but she was so far to the left it was ridiculous. See, they call it the paradigm, the structure that Blair had set up. She stayed within that. The way of thinking, the way of acting, and what her goals was. She was an enemy of this country. She was an enemy of every British person, English, Welsh, Scots, and Ulster, you know. And it was good riddance to Theresa May. Now, I, like many members of Britain First, joined the Conservative Party to get Boris Johnson elected and to make an impact, and we got Boris in, and that was a great triumph. I think he was in July one year become the Tory Prime Minister, but of course it was a Remainer Parliament, and we had this whole fiasco which had gone on since 2016, 3.5 years of the Remainers fighting a rearguard action to stop us leaving the EU. They just threw a spike in the wheel, nothing was turning. They turned Parliament into a place of chaos. So it was very frustrating after our victory in 2016 in the referendum. But we had the December the 12th general election. And you see what we've done, Paul, Andy, myself, activists, ever since Tony Blair got elected in 1997, we've been chipping away at what he tried to establish. We've been saying to the white working class of Britain, the Labour Party are your worst nightmare. The only goal of the Labour Party is to destroy the white working class, the British people, the folk in this nation. And everything we've done has been to awaken people up to this reality. And in December 2012, people finally woke up. It finally dropped the penny that the Labour Party was not the friend of the British working man. Yes. And places where I've campaigned, Paul said I've been in the nationalist movement for decades. I've campaigned in places like Burnley, Lee, I'll tell you about Lee in a minute, places like Mansfield, places like, the Don Valley, the Rother Valley, the heartland of the British working class, which was stubbornly loyal to Labour, on December the 12th, finally went to Labour. They finally put two fingers up to the Labour Party and the penny dropped. They said, you are a nightmare and we don't want nothing to do with you anymore. Except Liverpool, of course. But what an amazing moment that is in British history, because for 100 years, the British working class have been wedded to the Labour Party, and they finally broke that addiction. It's like somebody getting off heroin, Penny finally dropped. If they want Britain to survive, if they want a future for their children, they have to go elsewhere. And they backed Boris. Now, we don't know how that will turn out, because nobody really knows that much about Boris, really. He's a bit of a mysterious character. But his hero is Winston Churchill, and he lives his life through the history of Winston Churchill. He's written books about Churchill, he lectures on Churchill, and if he's half as good as Churchill, he won't be that bad. But we've gone so far into this left-wing paradigm that Tony Blair set up, of mass immigration, of wrecking the United Kingdom, of political correctness, all the warped ideas of political correctness, what they promote. So far into that paradigm, it's going to be a heck of an ordeal to get out of it, of setting our people free, the way we think, liberating the mind of the British people, so that we can be proud to be patriots again, proud of our country again, proud to be a Christian nation again with Christian values. We know the difference between right and wrong, proud to have our families again and to rebuild the family structure. But we think, every time I get up to speak, I just say I'm so optimistic. I've never been more optimistic in my life, even though things have got so wrong, because Donald Trump is still knocking it for 6 in America. I mean, I don't know if anyone saw the speech in Toledo the other night. It was the best speech he's ever given, and the atmosphere was just electric. I mean, there was something like 12,000 people in the stadiums, another 10,000 outside, but they were up for it. They want Donald Trump to win in 2020, and the ball's rolling his way. And of course, he hasn't got an enemy on his back anymore. Qasem Soleimani is now gone, departed into the hellfires. And it's great that America can take decisive action, because these people need to be deterred. This is what's happened in our country and across the world. These evil people are no longer deterred. They no longer fear us. When all these people, these boats are coming across the channel, which Paul and Andy brilliantly exposed, they don't fear being caught. They know it's going to be an easy ride for them. Yeah. We've got to say to people, if you break the law, if you take the mickey, if you abuse us, you will pay. You'll be sent back to your own country, you'll be put in prison here. This is the reality. We've got to man up. We've got to develop a bit of backbone in this country. And that's why something like Britain First is so important, because it's a party that has shown backbone since its creation, since it became famous after the Lee Rigby was murdered and Paul went after the Islamists in London. It's a party which has shown backbone, and it's recognised by the British public. You see, we've got this meeting here today, I don't know, 30 people here, 25 people. Britain First is a household name in this country. That's worth its weight in gold, that, because it means it's got potential to grow rapidly again. The battle's not over just because we've defeated the Labour Party in such a dramatic way, and we claim that as a victory for us as well, because we were the people who chipped away. We were the people who said to the working class, wake up, face reality. The Labour Party want to bring the Muslims in, they want to bring mass immigration in, they want to displace you, they want to take everything which you've got and destroy it. We're the people who've been saying that without any sort of prevarication. We haven't diluted it. We've been honest with the British people, even if it's meant that we've been arrested for doing that, for that honesty. Exposing what's been going on. And the Labour Party have hated us all along that journey. And they've tried at every turn to destroy us. I'm talking about the nationalists in general, the patriots in general, but Britain First in particular as well. They've tried to destroy us on this journey, but we've persevered and we're still standing and we're winning victories now. And I think the future's good, but it's a future we're going to have to fight for again, because I don't think we can simply leave it to the Tory party to deliver Britain back to safety, because the battle is too stern. I mean, they've still got to shake off that political correctness completely. It's so deeply entrenched in the institutions of this country now. You know, if you're British and you're white, you're working class, you're at the back of the queue. You know, whether it's in the NHS, whether it's in education, whether it's for welfare services, you're at the back of the queue. And it's our country. We have to assert to say again that this is our nation. We and our ancestors built this nation. We sacrificed hard labour and hard fighting in world wars and across the globe to make this a great country, and it belongs, the inheritance belongs to our children and to our grandchildren, and we have to fight for that. We have to reclaim it again, because it's being stolen off us. This is the thing. They've been dispossessing us. They've been stealing what belongs to us. Our heritage, our history, our property, our wealth. They've been stealing this off us. The Labour Party and the Tory collaborators have been stealing it off us for decades. And we've got to reclaim it now, because as I said at the start, it's a national emergency. If you go to London or Birmingham or Bradford or so many other places, Blackburn, Dewsbury, Preston, Burnley, you see the colonisation is so rapid. We're being rapidly taken over, and what is ours is being stolen from us. We've got to fight back. First of all, we've got to say this is what's happening. We've got to be the people that acknowledges the reality of what's happening and stops hiding away and refuse to say it. I mean, the amazing thing about Donald Trump is he just speaks it as it is. He speaks without fear. And he is being faced, Donald Trump has faced horrendous sort of opposition for what for the truth he's spoken in America. I mean, the media's attacked him, the other politicians have attacked him, the deep state have attacked him, just as they've attacked Paul, you know, relentlessly. And if he hadn't have had the gonads of steel, the balls of steel, he would be crumbling in the corner. A normal politician would have well crumbled under that sort of pressure. But he's persevered and he's winning, you see. This is the victory. The victory is we persevere, we don't give up. That's the British spirit. We never surrender. I mean, that's written, and Paul's got the mug there, no surrender. We have to wake up to that reality. We're still in a battle. Don't be deceived. The victory hasn't been won. And we have to lead in that battle. Now, it was UKIP that got us the referendum. Tommy Robinson did a fantastic job at drawing attention to these Muslim grooming, raping and prostitution gangs. These Muslim grooming gangs are about prostitution. They're about using our kids to make millions of pounds. That's what it's really about. And Tommy did a fantastic job, along with other people, at exposing that. Paul did a fantastic job at opposing the Islamists in London and driving them off the streets, and exposing the way Islam has been allowed to carry on a criminal wave in this country. They're being allowed to act in a criminal way with the police bowing to them. We had to expose that, and Paul's been to prison for that, harassing a Muslim rape gang. How ridiculous is that? But we've all played our part in that. I mean, go back to the BNP. There was a woman called Marlene Guest in Rotherham. She was the one who first drew attention to these Muslim rape gangs. You know, we exposed it then, and we exposed what was going on then with allocation of housing. There's so many wrongs and injustices have been done to the British people over the past, since Tony Blair came to power in '97. They really got very bad, and the media have tried to brush them under the carpet. But real suffering has taken place. We know that hundreds of thousands of young girls are being raped and abused in this country. It's amazing, isn't it? And men who try to defend them and stand up for them, fathers, uncles, brothers, the police targeted these people and arrested them. They tried everything they could to break the spirit of the British people. But this December the 12th election has shown that our spirit has not been broken, that we haven't lost our common sense, that we still want our freedom, that we still value our British identity. That's what it's about. We want Brexit. We want to be an independent country again. We want to assert ourselves in our own land again and have the freedom to do that. This is what it's about. We're a free-born Englishman. This is the worst thing that's happened to us over the past 2 decades, is they put a gag over our mouths. You know, they've locked us up for merely speaking the truth. This is wrong. This, everyone knows, this is a civil liberties issue. This is an issue of justice. We are free-born Englishmen, and we can never give up that freedom. Not to appease the Muslims, not to appease the left, not to appease any of these people, any of these, what we call the cult of minorities, people like homosexuals, or, you know, any sort of religious group, sort of cranky religious group. They can claim some sort of status as a minority, and they're given special protection. That's not how Britain works. In Britain, it's based on fairness, it's based on equity. We are a free people, and every individual has the right to express themselves. In America, they have freedom of speech. They have the amendment to the Constitution, the First Amendment, which guarantees freedom of speech. In Britain, we don't need that, because it's so deep. The Magna Carta was written in the 12th century. This sense of freedom and right in Britain is so deep in our soul that we will not ever, never forgive it. It's in our DNA. And we're not going to surrender that. And you know, when people have stood up and spoken out, I mean, I've been arrested 3 times over issues of freedom of speech, simply speaking the truth. Not saying anything outrageous at all, simply speaking the truth. But I was vindicated in each trial. I won each trial. I turned the tables on the police. Yeah. God was with me, you know. I believe that sincerely. And God is with those who strive to do the right thing. And we are a party that is righteous. We're striving to do the right thing. And we have an ideal of Britain. We look back to what Britain has been in the past, in the very recent past. I mean, I'm 58 now, but I grew up in a Britain which was still confident, which was still patriotic, which was still a decent society. And I've seen these people rubbish our nation, and I've refused to surrender to that, to submit to it. Yeah. You know, Paul's book is called The Battle for Britain. It's not over yet. We just won a terrific victory on December the 12th for the general election. Our goal, first of all, is to destroy the Labour Party, because they are absolute rogues. I mean, the Labour Party, the candidates they had in that general election have got to be the biggest shower that has ever been assembled in this country. Is it a joke? You know, they had this woman in Poplar in London. Her name was something Aga. Oh, I can't remember her name. Some Muslim name. Begum. She'd never been involved in politics. She had no political nous. She was on an all-women shortlist. They wanted a Bangladeshi woman. She was the only Bangladeshi woman. So she's been elected as the Labour MP for Poplar. I mean, she's a jelly baby. She doesn't know A from B, you know. But because she fits all their little their tick list, she's a Labour MP. You got this girl in Nottingham, Nadia Whitmore or something, Whitmote. She's 23 years old. Her job was to expose hate speech online. She used to report people to the police if they put patriotic or Christian sentiments down online. She's now the Labour MP for Nottingham. She's 23-year-old. She's a complete deadhead. They're useless idiots now who represent the Labour Party. The Labour Party now is a complete joke. So we've got to put the final nails in the coffin of the Labour Party. I mean, there are still working class people. We talked with Paul about Sunderland. In Sunderland, the Labour majority has collapsed, but they just got over the line. We've got to stop them getting over the line. We've got to continue this war to destroy the Labour Party. We've got to bring the Conservative Party back to patriotism. But we've got to have people who are outside the Conservative Party who are prepared to speak the truth about what's happening. And are willing to say to the British people, we can reclaim our country. We can give our children a future. We can face up to the invasion, the immigrant invasion, and the Islamization of our country. The Muslim Brotherhood, whose goal is to turn Britain through Dawah into an Islamic nation. We can stand up to these people and defeat them, because someone's going to have to. Yeah. Someone's going to have to speak the truth. And hopefully now we can do that with a certain degree of freedom, that all this sort of police intimidation will be loosened. I'm not overly optimistic about that, but I think freedom of speech has to come back into this country. And if it does, that gives us a great opportunity to speak out. We need the social media to be freed again. And of course, on November the 3rd, Donald Trump is up for re-election in America. If he wins that presidential election again, it's a real change for the whole globe. Nationalism is really ascending. The wave will have come right to the top of the beach, and the left, which is now on the run, will have been totally decimated. You know, 2016 was the big turning point in this nation when we voted for Brexit, and we broke this globalist sort of cage on the world, and we said, no, we want to be a free nation. Then Donald Trump got elected, and we've been part of these battles. You know, this is at the top, but we have got a role to play in this. And we did it through social media, through our campaigns, and we need a political angle as well. We need to engage in the political process. We need to stand for elections and be a campaigning political party. As I say, Britain First is a household name. That is a huge asset there. On that basis, if we give the lead, if we show we've got the organisational abilities, if we keep campaigning, we can become a big movement again. We can start to affect this nation. And I believe we're in a much more friendly environment now, but we're needed more than ever. So keep support. Thank you.